the left of it, the twin-engine de Havilland Dove, flown by British Airways 747-400 pilot Captain Bill Pritchard. It first flew in 1945, and it's one of the very few aircraft still flying whose parts, the engine, propeller and airframe, were all made by the same manufacturer. And on this side of it, the de Havilland Heron. One of two Dakotas, the DC-3, the backbone of the world's airline fleet for both cargo and passengers after the war. Remarkably, still in service 60 years after it first flew. Known also as the Skytrain, Dizzy-3, the C-47, that was the military designation, the Goonie Bird, and Puff the Magic Dragon after its exploits in Vietnam. It was the first civil airliner to make money from just carrying passengers without government help and without having to rely on mail services. Next, the DC-4 from South African Airways, the one we've already seen, the Skymaster. This was another remarkable American wartime aircraft that slipped gracefully from military to civil duties. First flew in 1938, and it featured unheard of passenger comforts such as air conditioning and sleeping berths. This one actually was the last one ever built, and it was virtually hand-built because the production line was already making DC-6s. Actually delivered to South African Airways in 1947. Now the faster aircraft coming in at 150 knots, 500 feet above the ground. The DC-6, it was bigger, flew faster and went further than the DC-4. The DC-6, the Constellation and the Stratocruiser were the last generation of piston engine airliners. In fact, the DC-6 was one of the most economical piston engine transports ever built. This one went to China Air Transport in October 1958, then various American operators before Air Atlantique bought it in 1987. Vickers Viscount. That America didn't totally dominate the world market in the 50s was due to the success of British aircraft like this one, which resulted from Britain's excellence in engine design. Vickers supplied 60 customers worldwide, including BEA, who started with 20 and finished with over 80. The Handley Page Herald on the near side. Another example of Britain's prolific post-war aircraft industry. The de Havilland Comet, with its metal fatigue problems, made an inauspicious start. But when the Mark IV finally arrived, the world's first jet airliner proved its worth. Dramatically faster than its propeller-driven forebears, it slashed journey times around the globe. This Mark IV-C X-Ray Sierra 235 from the Heavy Aircraft Test Squadron at Boscombe Down is, as we've heard, the last Comet still flying, and sadly there are plans to dispose of it at the end of this year. The military development of the Comet, of course, is still flying the Nimrod maritime patrol aircraft. Wonderful view that hasn't been seen for many a long time as the Comet passes over Heathrow with London in the background. Wealthy entrepreneurs out there who would like to keep it going, it may well be available at the end of the year. Among the Comet's American rivals, as well as the Boeing 707, was the DC-8. It was faster, had a greater range, and carried over twice as many passengers. With so-called hush-kitted engines, that's like a silencer on a car, it became popular with freight operators. In fact, the first all-cargo DC-8 flew in 1962. Since then, it's been stretched, re-engined and upgraded, and there are well over 300 still in service. This one flown by Captain John Crouch, who's got 31 years airline experience in the United States. Britain's attempt to corner the short and medium-haul jet market was the BAC 111, replacing the Viscount. It first flew in 1963, and American Airlines ordered 16 that year. But its potential as a world beater was never realized, as the greater selling power of the big American manufacturers saw it off. This one, Mike Tango, was once a regular visitor to Heathrow with BEA and then British Airways. Now part of the AB Shannon fleet, part of Air Bristol Group. They operate 3 111-500s. "230 were built here, and a few others were assembled in Romania. Next, the Boeing 727, which underlined Boeing's domination of the civil airliner market. This one in Iberia colours, but they've now replaced them with the A320. It's a short to medium-haul transport with, unusually for Boeing, 3 engines on the tailplane. It used many of the fuselage components of the 707 and became the backbone of American domestic transport system in the 1960s and 70s. And it's one of the few commercial jets to have sold over 1,000 aircraft. Captain Don Francisco Romero, Iberia's chief pilot, is flying that. But if the 727 was good, the 737 was brilliant. It's the most successful jet airliner so far, with around 3,300 ordered. About 80 airlines operate it, because it has an unusually wide and spacious cabin, and it's an extremely cost-effective, high-performance short-haul aircraft. Boeing kept their development costs down by using many of the 707 and 727 components. And every few years they bring out a new version to meet new legislation on noise and noxious emissions. The unmistakable jumbo. This Singapore Airlines jumbo is the Boeing 747-400, the latest version, and it can carry 421 passengers, up to 40 tons of freight, over 8,000 miles without a refueling stop. If any one aircraft symbolises Heathrow and the age of mass travel, this surely is it. Just 34 years after the DC-3 struggled into the air, the first ever wide-bodied airliner weighing nearly 300 tons took off and changed the face of air travel forever. Boeing are actually looking at plans to stretch the upper deck to add another 150 seats or so.